Welcome to Winning Inside, the show where we follow the journey from feeling defeated to winning. Here are your hosts, Cheddy Matthews and Michelle Wickman.
Hello, amazing people. Welcome to the Winning Inside podcast, where we discuss real issues, insights, and solutions with each other and guests to help you thrive in your day-to-day lives. We know life happens, and we can choose to be a spectator or participant.
These conversations and stories are about the participants, the ones who made the choice to do the inner work and found a way to keep moving forward.
Hey, Michelle.
Hi, Cheddy.
How are you?
Still
Why
great.
Are we so formal?
I don't know.
Why are we so formal? Like we don't know each other. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up?
Like we didn't just talk for 20
Hello.
minutes. I don't know. Hey, how are you again?
Hey, that's going to be separated by a week. That's what that is.
No. It's great. It's great.
It's funny. But it's always good to see you. So you know what? I'll keep saying it every time I see you. Hello, Michelle. I'm good with that. So today, what are we going to talk about?
We are going to talk about 100% personal responsibility. And
Whoa.
oh, yes. So we alluded to this a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
Cheddy actually started talking about it during the podcast. And I was like, oh, hold on.
Stop.
Yeah, this is a juicy one.
Cut the mic.
This
Cut
is a
the mic.
juicy one. And we really wanted to dedicate a whole podcast to this concept.
Yes. So this is about 100% responsibility. So I use the word own it, but there's so many different ways that you can talk about it. If you've read, and you're going to hear me refer to Think and Grow Rich a lot. I read the book a lot. I have my kids read the book. Anyone I love, I tell them, hey, check this book out. Because it does have some great nuggets in it. And one of the things it will say is that you are the captain of your ship. You know, you are the captain of your life kind of thing. You are the master of your fate. In other words, what that means is you get to determine the outcome of your life. You get to determine. And a lot of times we fall asleep at the wheel. And I would tell you, when life for me went off the rails, it was because I fell asleep at the wheel. It's exactly what I did. So what I'm going to do is talk about owning it and 100% responsibility from two different areas. One, what you've done. But I'm going to leave that kind of short because really this is all about what you're going to do from this day going forward. That's what you have control over. Unless you got a time machine, and then we can work on that together because I want to use my time machine too. But if you don't have a time machine, we've got to focus our energy where we can do the most good, and that is going forward. So let me start with the past. Things have happened in our lives, and they have really wreaked havoc in our life. Things have happened to us that we didn't like, that have left etched negativity, fear, guilt, doubt, shame, anger in our psyches, in our beings. And sometimes we say, I do this and I did this and I did that. And for me personally, as a Marine, you accept responsibility for everything. You own it. If it happened in your unit, it's your fault. If one of your Marines got in trouble, it's my fault. And I owned everything. Now that's good organizationally in some ways, but in some ways it wasn't good. Because what happens is you find yourself getting frustrated with yourself for things that you had no power over. No energy was put into it. No thought was put into it because it wasn't for you. You own things that aren't yours. So you're stressing about things that you can do nothing about and you did nothing to cause. So is that healthy? No. Does it make sense? Absolutely not. Did I do it? Definitely. Every day of my life. That translated into my personal life because occupationally I did it. So why not do it personally? And through some of the events that happened in my life, I would own it all. But like, it's my fault. I did this. I did that. Well, you didn't do that. Yeah, I did that too. It's my fault too. The problem with that is you take on more weight than you ought to. In most situations, there's your part and there's other external factors and there's other people that may be involved. And what I was doing was taking all the blame, the accountability for all components, all players, all stakeholders, all actors. That's a lot of weight. And that's more weight than one person should bear alone. What I have learned to do is say, yep, I did that. I chose that. I neglected this. I failed to do that. I absolutely did this right, but I did not do this, 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 and this. And I have learned to move those things that I didn't do off of my plate. My burden became lighter. Not only did it become lighter, but I realized the things that I did, I can assess and I can change. I can say, yep, I did that. I don't want to do that again. I didn't do this. I need to do that next time. I did this and I did it poorly. I need to do it better. I did this and I should never do this again. So there's places where you can learn. Whereas before, all I did was just take the blame and just took it and just absorbed it and digested it and it festered and it got rotten and it just made me feel very negative and weighted down. So now it's healthy because I can make choices. I can look at things that have gone in my life, whether I consider them to be lessons, failures, disappointments, challenges, issues, whatever I call them. And now I can make better decisions going forward because of it. And Michelle, once you get to the point of going forward, it's how do you own that? If you want to think about, and I'll give you an example. I went through all of these things and I had a certain level of trauma and guilt, shame and frustration, Michelle. And then I wanted to kind of say, what do I do now? Because what was happening before was the guilt was consuming me. I did this and I did that. I did this, I did that. And that mindset enabled me to become a victim. I put on a hat of a victim, didn't know it, but I became a victim because I was powerless, because I was owning too many things. All the stuff that I was putting on my shoulders wasn't mine to bear. So I couldn't walk forward. I couldn't maneuver. I couldn't adjust. Now I'm taking 100% ownership of the stuff that I should take ownership of and taking off the things that I shouldn't. That became a lot more freeing. And I was able to give myself the grace that we talked about last week. I found groups that could help me to do that. I was able to do the mindfulness work to actually understand that this is my part and this is not my part. I was able to forgive myself. I was able to challenge myself. And with all of those things now, going forward looks a lot better. So how I urge you and what I urge you to do is really reflect on the past. You're part of it. Don't accept the parts that weren't yours. Things happen to us and we have no control over it. And don't own those things because you can't change them because you had nothing to do with them. But own the parts that you were a participant in, own the parts that you contributed to, and that's it. And really try your best to navigate those two lanes because those are two different things. And hopefully your burden, like mine did, will become a little lighter. Does that make sense, Michelle?
Yes. No, not at all. And I mean, that pretty much, I think we're done here.
No, come back.
No, that was very, very thorough. I think it told, the story of how it really operated in your life and really clearly. And then also that transition from just like the blanket responsibility.
Yeah.
And then transitioning that to just assessing what is actually factually speaking, what am I responsible for here? Right? Because we cannot be responsible for other people's actions, reactions, or inactions. Okay. So that is where we're just really looking at what has transpired in the past that has affected us in some capacity. I mean, this could be really significant. This could be, we're talking traumatic PTSD. It could be really significant, and it could be something very small that you're just stuck on and you can't get past. And this idea of waiting for somebody else to, apologize to us or whatever. All of this conversation is just, we're keeping it moving because your life is too important. This is what we have. Your life is too important and too precious to be stuck waiting for somebody to apologize or to be stuck carrying the blame for any of this. Okay.
Yes.
So this conversation around 100% responsibility is not about putting, and I want to emphasize this, and Cheddy did mention this multiple times, but it is not about taking 100% responsibility for other people's choices. Period. Full stop. This is about what you are in control of. And he mentioned that he would go through this process of assessing, what am I responsible for? What would I do differently in the future? What would I change, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just, how do we learn from our mistakes? Okay. So there is a rather famous person called Jim Rohn.
I've heard of the guy once or twice.
Yeah, exactly. In the development realm. I mean, we're talking one of the major players that influenced the Tony Robbins of the world and just multiple people. And he defined failure as making the same mistakes essentially every single day. So you repeat them every single day equals failure, right? So what Cheddy did is he would assess, okay, what am I responsible for and how can I change it? And this can be an error that occurs at work. You make a mistake. What am I responsible for and how can I change it? Inversely, success is repeating the same disciplines every day, right? And so that's future thinking. And I want to save that for the next conversation. But looking at our past, when we want to remove the idea of blame, whether it's blaming ourselves or blaming others, if you're going to blame somebody else, you are holding out this idea that you deserve an apology, that you need one to move forward, anything like that. No, we cannot wait for other people to come around and see things from our perspective. That is the sad truth of human nature, is that regardless of these circumstances that have deeply affected me, Cheddy, and we have had some very, deep conversations about traumas that have occurred in our past. We cannot sit and ruminate and wait for this apology to happen or to blame this individual, right? Because that's just holding on to that pain. And I'm not saying that I'm at all, mind you, I'm not saying that this is like, how you heal depression or PTSD. No. I work with a mental health professional. I work with a coach. I advocate for all of those things.
All of the above.
All of the above. I advocate for all of them. It is part of your own personal healing journey. That is it. It is just a component of what can we work with going forward. Okay. And so this idea of, focusing on what we're responsible for, some of these things are so deeply entrenched that this is one of those components that we don't even want you to necessarily apply it to.
Yeah.
And I laugh because it's deep, man.
Oh.
Like this can go real deep. And I've participated in a program that had you actually reflect on a very toxic relationship and how can you take 100% responsibility for the place of that relationship. And looking back, I don't want to say I regret what I did because it was part of my experience. It was part of the journey. But in retrospect, I'm thinking, how could I take 100% responsibility for that circumstance and situation between myself and this very toxic individual, right?
Yes.
Or how our relationship was extremely toxic in the past.
Yes.
And so it's not about taking responsibility. Again, I want to reiterate this. It's not about taking responsibility for other individuals' actions, reactions, or inactions. It's about understanding and building an awareness of what you are in control of, what you are empowered to believe, what you are empowered to think about, even about past circumstances. You can choose to have specific thoughts about that now and how you relate to that past experience. Okay. So you are not responsible for other individuals, period. Now, going forward, shifting gears. I love this. And the reason is because this ties to your goals. And Cheddy and I love goals. This is our thing. Again, I know I've said these probably exact same words. We get super fired up when we talk to our clients or with our clients about their goals. And this concept of 100% personal responsibility is all about goal pursuit.
Yes.
It's all about understanding that you can truly, truly empower yourself with the possibilities of your future because you know and believe that you are 100% responsible for your results.
Yes. Ooh. When you do that, it puts you in the driver's seat and it can be crippling at first. It can be scary. But look, if you want to grow, you've got to take the reins. You then can direct where that ship goes, which way is left, which way is right, which way is up, where the destination is, or what journey you take. You have control over that. And just that means it gives you the power to say, I'm going to do this. But it also gives you, if not even more importantly, the power to say no. Because a lot of times we forfeit our ability to say no. Say, I don't want to do that. That is not aligned with what I want to do in my life. That is not the goal that my life is taking right now, or that is not the direction my life is taking, or that is not a goal I want to pursue. So I am going to decline that. I'm going to say no. I'm going to respectfully decline, not doing that. But just being able to say no and turn down certain things in your life is empowering. And the opposite of that would be being able to say, yes, I want to do this thing, whether it's unpopular, whether it's rare, strange, not the common path. Hey, everyone's not doing what you want to do, but everybody's not you, and everybody doesn't have the vision and the goals and the dreams and the mindset that you have. So owning that and taking the journey that you were destined to take, sometimes you're the only person qualified and capable and able to see this journey and to see it through. So therefore, you owe it to yourself to find that path and take that path, because that journey, the other side of that journey, may be the success and the life that you want. So take it and don't be afraid.
I love
Michelle,
that. Yes.
I'm looking at you and I can see you thinking. I'm like, what's something? What is she thinking about? I can see you in deep thought.
I'm envisioning a journey. So when you speak, sometimes it's like, it just visualization.
I'm visual. Yeah. Can't help it.
I am kinesthetic and visual. So when it comes to this idea of responsibility going forward, again, we cannot control other people's actions, inactions, reactions, right? So we can't control those things. And sometimes our goals may require interaction with other individuals. Yes. And so we get asked this question a lot, right? So wait, but my goal is to be married, whatever, in a year or two. And I don't even have a partner yet. It's like, well, what are you doing?
I'm just sitting here waiting for the bus to come by.
How is it working for you? Right. So like, what are you responsible for? You can't necessarily, create a fiance, but hey, what have you done to take the first tiniest step in that direction? What are you personally responsible for in terms of, meeting new people and putting yourself out there? Or for coaches, and we get this with entrepreneurs and service providers a lot, with our clients in particular, it's like, well, I have goals of making X amount of money in my business. I can't control other people saying yes or no, but you can control your effort and your output, right? So if your conversion rate of a yes to a no is 10%, then you better, hit 300% of your calls from last month if you want to triple your effort there, right? If you want to triple those numbers. So we talk about like when you look and assess where you're at and where you want to be, right? What actions can you implement that you are 100% in control of? Your actions, your reactions, your inactions. What actions specifically do you want to implement to get you to where you want to be? Okay. So this is all goal conversation. And again, we love to also say that the purpose of pursuing a goal is not to achieve it, right, Cheddy?
There you go. It is a journey, not a destination.
It is a journey, not a destination, so that you become the person that achieves that goal.
Yes. Yes. It is we always want to be teleported to that place where we want to be. But if you think about the journey, you have grown and matured. Bumps, bruises, celebrations, challenges, victories, wins, losses, defeats, all of that stuff makes you who you are so that you can be the person you need to be at the end of that goal. It's like being an apprentice to a journeyman, to a junior expert in something, to being like the master of something. That's a journey. And there's a lot of disappointments and successes and things, I'll just call them things, that happen along that journey. Bumps and curves and detours and do-overs. And that is what forges you and gives you the strength and the resolve and the experience to go through and the confidence to be where you need to be at the next levels. So enjoy and embrace the journey, and know that even though people will never really tell you about the journey as they're going through it, the success stories always tell you how great it is now. It started at the beginning and they go to the top. They don't tell you about the journey in between. And that's the part that can be scary and daunting. But just remember, It is a continuous process. And if you go through this continuous process, you get better. And Michelle, I'm going to use a working out analogy because, hey, you are so good at this. If you go to the gym one day and do some push-ups, pull-ups, crunches, sits, squats, hit the heavy bag, guess what? You go home, do you see a result? Other than the fact that you're tired and you lost a calorie. Do you see a result? Do you see a change in the scale maybe? Maybe not.
No.
You do it again. She's like, no. You do it again. The next day, you may not see anything. But if you continue on that journey, over time, you will get sculpted, ripped, increased cardio, increased flexibility, increased just kinesthetic ability to move your body and lift your own weight and to just move things, increase power, speed, endurance, all the things that you want. They come with time and consistency, but you don't notice it while you're going through the journey. I'm doing the same thing. I'm just curling this way. And you may not notice the improvements because they happen slowly and over time. And then there are breakthroughs that happen that would never happen if you weren't on that journey. So keep at it. Keep at that thing. Whatever it is, you are in charge. You are in control. You are in the driver's seat of your life. And a lot of times we've given that seat to someone else. It's your car, your insurance, you're making the payments, and then you sit in the backseat and let someone else drive it. What makes you think they're qualified to drive your vehicle? We forfeit a lot of our power sometimes. And I'm just going to urge you to challenge yourself. If you can think of anywhere in your life where you have given up the reins, fell asleep at the wheel, not taking control when you should have, allowed someone else to drive your vehicle, your life from the passenger seat, allowed somebody who may not even have a license or be qualified to do such and to give you information. If you've allowed yourself to get and take and receive advice from somebody about what you can and cannot do, who hasn't done what you can and cannot do. And I'll give you an example. I'll throw one because I like my cars. When somebody said, I'm going to make a vehicle, I'm going to make a horseless carriage, that person was probably looked at like an idiot. You're going to make a carriage of no horses. That makes no sense, dude. That makes no sense whatsoever. But yet every day, most of us get into a vehicle that is gas, diesel, or electric powered to get us from one place to another that doesn't have a horse on it. Yet we still measure power in horsepower. But there hasn't been a horse on that carriage for 2 centuries almost, or a century and a half. Think about that. Somebody said it couldn't be done, but yet it's being done now. Airplanes, the same thing. Wait, you're going to fly an airplane? That makes no sense. You're going to have a kite and you're going to sit in it and it's going to be propelled? That's ridiculous. People thought that person was mad, but yet it was done. Marconi, the inventor of, sending basically radio signals. His friends put him in a mental asylum because they thought he was crazy because they didn't see his vision. But he had to drive that train and say, yes, I'm going to send a message from England and send it to New York. And he did it. And now I'm going to say most of you are listening to us. If you listen to us on a cell phone, you're probably doing it through Wi-Fi, you're doing it through cellular data or something. That's because of Marconi who did that. So you have to think about those things. This does have effects in your life. You are in control of your life. And what is for you is for you. And other people may not be able to see that. That doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it's not for them. So listen to that voice. Own it. I'm laughing because you're laughing. Sorry.
I'm sorry. You love your examples and analogies. And I
can see your face like, what?
No. Oh my God, please delete this part.
No, it's staying in. Edit
not
this.
Staying.
This part stays.
No, it's not. We can argue about it.
Moving on.
Okay.
We can argue about
it. So what Cheddy is speaking to
with my colorful analogies.
With that is that when we are talking about 100% personal responsibility, is that the possibilities are truly limitless when you accept personal responsibility for your goals. So
yes.
There are a million things, a million examples of people who created empires from nothing. And I know you mentioned the book Think and Grow Rich multiple times. I also love that book. I also love Napoleon Hill. The Robert Kiyosaki's, like the Jim Rohn's, just everybody, even Grant Cardone, like people will talk about the possibilities that are out there. I mean, David Goggins, right?
Yeah.
Navy SEAL. I loved his book, by the way. But it's an idea that your mind, you are in charge of, right? And if you accept that you are in charge of your mind and you are in charge of your destiny, you are in charge of your life, that you can create something from nothing, essentially. But you have to decide what that something is. And are you going to feed into the negative thoughts that show up, the negative self-talk, or are you going to choose the positive self-talk and the positive thoughts? Because that is also a choice. You can take responsibility for the thoughts that you choose to hang on to in your brain. You can take responsibility for, yes, I am tired, and yes, I'm still getting up because, you know, I have a goal. I have a fitness goal, and I want to wake up and I want to go work out super early in the morning. So I get it done because I know that's the only time that I can get it done.
Yes.
Even if my child was not feeling well and woke up, you know, stayed up really late. And so now I'm tired. I am still choosing this. So it's taking away this idea of I'm blaming these circumstances that are outside of my control. Even if you're not blaming another person, you're blaming circumstances that are outside of your control.
Yes.
For your reality. Okay. And so every single choice you have, every single action you have going forward, you can take a moment to assess, am I responsible for this? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Right? It's always going to be yes.
Absolutely.
But what is it that I want to choose? And that's where the empowerment comes into play. Right?
Yes.
So the idea of 100% responsibility is all about empowering yourself so that you do not sit in victimhood, even going forward. Well, I can't go back to school because X, Y, and Z. Well, I can't find another job because whatever. I can't go work out because, well, I gained all this weight because somebody bought me 2 pounds of chocolate. It's fine. It may be true or not. So, I mean, but it was my choice to eat it. So that's the bottom line, right? Like it's not about, you know, right or wrong. It's about building the sensation and experience of empowerment in your life that you are in charge. You are in control of your reality. So, and knowing that and believing that, it's the belief of that that affects your choices, it affects your actions, and it affects your energy going forward.
Correct. Exactly. I tell you, this is, I think, going to be very important. It's not the word I was looking for, but I'm going to use it. Very important for people going forward. This is such a pivotal decision point in people's lives. If you listen to this message, this could be the time when you decide to actually do that thing. When you decide today is the day where I'm going to take ownership of what it is I want in my life, and I'm going to figure out how to make it happen. What is it that I want? Why do I want it? How am I going to achieve it? I'm going to achieve it by doing this first step. And you get to do that because you realize you're in control. I saw a movie once, and in the end of the movie, somebody said, "You're in control." And the person was like, "I'm in control?" And you could see in that moment, they realized they were in control and they believed it. And in the next scene, you see them and they're like running things like they're in control because they believe they're in control. So they took control. And we can do the same to ourselves. You've got to tell yourself, I'm in control. I am 100% responsibility for my outcome. I'm 100% responsibility for my actions. I'm 100% responsibility for my activity and my attitude. And that is going to give you the power to proceed and push and go forward.
I love it. We are in control.
Yes, absolutely. So that's it for the day. I think we have had a wonderful time. Thank you for listening. And if you think of anyone that likes this or can benefit from this, hey, share it. If you've got questions for us, let us know that too.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe, follow, share, and most importantly, use whatever adds value to your amazing life.
Remember, even if life puts barriers in our way, we are still moving forward. Sign in each Monday for a new episode of Winning Inside.
Thank you for listening to Winning Inside with Cheddy Matthews and Michelle Wickman. If you enjoyed today's show, please make sure to click the follow button, rate and review at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, or wherever you get your podcast. You can connect with Cheddy and Michelle at winninginside.io. Keep listening. Another episode is coming soon.